All right, I'm pretty excited. What's up, everyone? Hey, welcome. Okay, I got a lot of stuff going on here. I'm on Zoom, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Wow. Wow. This is day one of the 5-day mindful eating solution. So, my folks on Zoom and Facebook actually joined this program that I'm running, and I decided to just pop it on Instagram too because what the heck, it's free. So, wherever you're watching, I've got my eyes on you. I can do this. I can manage a three-way webinar, please. A lot stupider people than me have managed webinars. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Tara. Who's here on Zoom with me? Say hi. I would love to know who's out there, and I want to hear from you. What's your name? Where are you from? Tell me where in the world you're watching from. That's always fun to do. I'll tell you who I am. I'm Erin. I live in Alberta, Canada. It's snowing right now. It's pretty cute. It's very Alberta thing to do, snowing in the springtime. And I'm here to help you understand your relationship with food. Chris is like, yeah, Team Zoom. We got Team Zoom. We got Team Instagram. We got Team Facebook. We got here. Oh my goodness. We got on Instagram. We got New York, Brazil, snowing. Yes. Thank you for sharing in my misery. We got Denise from Calgary. Turner Valley, hey, just down the road, Sundre, Alberta, lots of Calgary, Oakville, Ontario. Okay, lots of people from all over. So I'm Erin. I'm a board certified health coach, a registered holistic nutritionist. I've been working in the metabolism space for 7 years, helping people, gain energy, lose fat, and more importantly, my raison d'etre, my reason for getting out of bed in the morning, helping you achieve an effortless relationship with food. Ooh, Fi from the UK. Fi. We got the UK over there. Wherever you are, I want you to throw questions at me. I want you to just like riff with me. I'm gonna do my best to stay on top of it, but I also want to be really respectful of your time. Here's something you should know about me is I feel like I tend to get too excited sometimes and then I can talk a lot. And I want to really just rein this in. So you'll see I've made all 5 of these daily webinars 45 minutes long. Minnesota. Nice. Minnesota. Wow, everywhere. Utah. Damn. South Dakota. All over the world. What a time we live in. Okay. Arizona. It's 92 degrees here. I can't do the math on that, but that sounds warm. I was in Arizona one time. It was 111 degrees Fahrenheit. And all I know is that was insane. Okay. Now, since we're all talking to each other, I want to hear from you. Complete honesty, no judgment whatsoever. What is your biggest mindless eating struggle? So we're here to talk about mindful eating. It's the mindful eating solution. So what is your biggest mindless eating struggle? Let me give you a few examples just to maybe help you out here. A big one I hear from people is boredom eating. Boredom eating. So I'm hearing this so much from my clients right now. It's like, I'm at home, I'm doing Zoom sessions, and then in between the Zoom sessions, I kind of just have half an hour to kill. So I wander into the fridge and start looking through the cupboards. So maybe that's you, boredom eating. I'm here to tell you that being bored doesn't make you hungry. Sorry somebody had to tell you, but boredom does not make you hungry. We're going to talk about hunger. Actually, day 2, I think, tomorrow is talking about hunger. And it's really important to understand how hunger plays into your mindless and mindful eating habits. But today we're not talking about hunger. Maybe your mindless eating pathology is evening snacking. That's a big one. There's so many people that I talk to on the phone, prospective clients, active clients, lots of my rebooters, you guys, who will say, I do pretty good during the day, and then at night the wheels fall off. Who can relate to that one? Anybody? I want to know if that's something you struggle with. That's exactly what I do. Not hungry. All right. So that's Mary Beth said that. I didn't say that. Shelly's had her hand up. It's interesting about that. And this, it's so interesting because this goes back to hunger as well. Like sometimes I'm just going to put this out there because we're going to talk about this tomorrow a bit more, but like I'm so good during the day that equates to I nibble on stupid low-fat yogurt and black coffee and I have a salad at lunch with chicken breast. No damn wonder No damn wonder you're hungry at night. That is not yummy, satisfying food. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. That's actually, spoiler alert, tomorrow's session. Okay. Fly says, always having to have a pudding even if I'm not hungry. Old habit. Yeah, habit thing. We're going to talk about the habits too. It's interesting how we talk about our behaviors. When we use the word habit, it's almost always like the context of the word habit is almost always negative. Like, oh, that's a habit. That's the habit I have to break. Nobody talks about their good habits. Like, I have a really good habit, right? When you have a spouse that wants to eat nonstop all night, next thing you know, you're doing it too. Yep. Tough. Stress. Denise says stress. Eating what my kids and mom make and feeling obliged to eat it. What else do we got over here on Instagram? Alcohol, not paying attention to how many glasses of wine I filled. Yes, stress, big one. Okay, lots of things. So what I'm hearing, what I'm loving, Cami says I end up forgetting to eat all day because I have small kids, and then I'm starving in the evening. Bingo, that happens all the time. And I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I really do think the cure for the evening snack attack is what you eat during the day. I really do. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. That's just my personal opinion after many years and many clients of experience. But what I'm hearing generally, and thank you all for sharing, is that there is an awareness. Okay, so right out the gate, I'm going to give you all high fives, all high fives, all high fives, because there's an awareness about your own mindless eating habits. You're aware. You can name it and shame it, like I like to say. That's a great place to start. Family obligations. Yep. So listen, I'm going to, in any and all of these scenarios, in any and all of the ones that I read here, okay, the one common denominator, the solution for all of them, is that if that stuff wasn't in your house, you wouldn't have eaten it. Change my mind. Change my mind. So, like, we got Daytona, Maine says, if Netflix and chill isn't the same without a bunch of snacks. So here's the deal. I'm totally into that. I have nothing bad to say about your, personally, who am I? I'm a stranger on the internet. Doesn't matter if I think your snack habit is good or bad. I want you guys to step in and be really honest with yourselves. Like, this is a thing I'd like to improve, or maybe it isn't. Because by the way, if you're like, I actually like my evening snacking habit, I like watching TV with some snacks, cool, great. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but if there's something about this mindless eating that you would like to change, the easiest way to make this easy on you, so you're not fighting this battle, is to not have the stuff in the house. I'm sorry, I know that seems really obvious. It's so obvious, it's almost comical. And you're like, well, yeah, lady, obviously, if I didn't have it in the house, I wouldn't get it. Although, somebody tell me, and no shame, no hate, no judgment, some people will go out and get it. They're like, I'll get in the car and drive to the gas station and get a chocolate bar, candy bar, I don't care. That's true. That's interesting. And I think that as we go through this 5-day mindful eating solution, that will be something we'll address in the later days. Maddie says, not in the house, I order pizza. Yep. You get the DoorDash, you get the, what is it? Postmates, Uber Eats. I don't get that out here where I live. I'm really lucky. I live in the middle of nowhere. I can't order food. I want to talk to you about your environment though. Okay. Because today is not about telling you guys what food is good or bad for you, what's healthy or unhealthy. We're not talking about nutritional dogma here today at all. There's nothing here about that today. I don't really care what you eat throughout the day. I don't care if you're carnivore, keto, vegetarian. I don't care if you eat all processed or processed foods all day, every day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if there's a thing you want to change, and the very existence of that thing in your environment is the reason why you're having a hard time changing, please get it out of your environment. Do it for yourself. It's a nice thing to do for yourself. This is an inarguable fact. Are you ready for an inarguable fact? You cannot out willpower your biology. You can try it. You can do it for a little while. Most of us have exhibited willpower for a little while. And most of us failed at willpower after a certain period of time. It's like, well, I'm off the wagon now. No more willpower left. I wish I had more willpower. You're not going to out willpower this. I mentioned in the email today that correlates with the the 5-day mindful eating solution. So people who are registered for my program are getting a daily email, which is supported by this live webinar. In the email I said, and this is, again, an inarguable fact, your brain is wired to want to devour these highly processed foods. It's not even really your fault, apart from the fact that you put it in the shopping cart and brought it home. That part's your fault, sorry. But the fact that once it's in your home, you can't stop thinking about it, you can't stop eating it, that is in your biology. And I'm not going to go deep into the weeds of like evolutionary biology here, but you guys can understand this, whether or not you believe in evolution, by the way. But you know that on some familial level, we did evolve maybe from our great-great-great-great-grandparents. So you don't have to believe in cave people to stay with me on this one, but humans in early days did not have ready access to food. We couldn't Postmates or Uber Eats a pizza if we wanted it. We couldn't DoorDash a Slurpee from 7-Eleven if we just had a jonesing for it. That was not even a thing. We went through periods of food scarcity, and our body is wired to expect food scarcity and to avail itself of calories whenever they became available. And the more highly caloric, the better in these survival situations. We always use the example of the honey pot, right? Hunter-gatherers come across the honey pot. What do? Do they ration it? No, they gorge on it. They gorge on it. They store all that energy on the body because it's like, we don't know if we're going to come, we don't know if the hunt's going to be successful. We don't know if we're going to find another honey pot. This is a bunch of calories, plus it tastes yummy. Let's go. The brain evolved with this knowledge like, wow, these really sweet or crunchy or starchy foods seem to really pack an energy storage punch. So we're going to just really request that anytime we can. And it's to the point where, like, I've heard this in books and I've read this in articles and things from very smart people who study this stuff. Even if you know, as long as you know it's in the house, your brain is aware of it, you're going to just be drawn to it. I have had clients who had success with their spouse, because we talk about the unsupportive roommate or life partner or spouse. I've had clients who've had success if their spouse sneaks the food in the house and hides it. They don't want it because they don't even know it's there. They don't even know it's there. But as soon as your brain knows it's there, you are fighting that. You are fighting your own damn biology. Why would you make that so hard on yourself? Again, I'm speaking in the context of something that you want to change. If you don't really care to change, then don't change. But if you want to change, why would you make it so hard on yourself by having this stuff in the house? I don't get it. I don't get it. Can somebody tell me? I want to know. I want to see what you guys are saying, actually, before I move on. Comfort. So Veronica says, when I feel worried, salty snacks give me comfort. How so? Tell me more, Veronica. What do we got here on Instagram? Snack hacks. High volume, low calorie snacks to stay satiated. Example, massive bowl of popcorn with seasoning, low calorie and filling. Okay, that's from Daytona. So I'm going to answer that question. I think there's a strategic way of snacking. And my clients will know this hack that I've shared. When I think about it from a biological standpoint, I know that the brain is wired to want the starchy, the sugary, the sweet, the high caloric, highly caloric foods. The things that are obviously highly caloric that taste like they're going to be easy to store, right? Starches, sugars, that kind of stuff. When my clients are struggling, for example, with like a sweet tooth, which happens a lot, or I want something a little sweet after supper, or I can't watch TV without something sweet, I'll say, tell me your 3 favorite savory snacks. What are your 3 favorite savory snacks? Let's go with like an old cheese. Let's go with cured meat, salamis, right? Let's go with olives. I like olives. I know some people think olives are disgusting. I apologize if I just grossed you out by name dropping olives, but like find 3 savory snacks that are so satisfying, because that will satisfy that Jones in you have, but it will not close the loop on the brain asking you for something highly caloric, highly like storable. You didn't close that loop. You said, oh, I'll feed you, brain, but I'm going to give you this protein snack instead. I'm not going to give you the starchy snack. It's interesting, Daytona, that you brought up popcorn, because I use it as an example in the email today, which I'm going to get to in a second. So Veronica's answer to, thank you for being so honest, Veronica. Wonderful. because Veronica said, when I feel worried, salty snacks give me comfort. And she says it feels familiar and easy. It takes me back to my childhood memories when life was easy. That makes sense. I think there's a world of truth to that. We are so we've been really programmed a lot through our childhood. We were given comfort. We were like, here, you've been such a good girl. Here's an ice cream cone. Oh, you're feeling sad. Here's a lollipop. You go to the doctor, you get a lollipop because it was scary. Oh my gosh, that's so deeply ingrained in our programming. So I really do want to almost absolve everybody of any kind of guilt about this behavior, because it's mostly not even your fault. Part of it's your biology, part of it's your programming. It's okay. No hate, no shade, no shame, no judgment. All I'm saying is, if you want to make this real easy on yourself, get the stuff out of the house. It's almost too easy. It almost feels like a waste of time to say it. But listen, I have this conversation with clients all the time, so stay with me on this. But my client will say something like, oh, I was doing so good, which is how this conversation always starts. And then I found the Oreos in the pantry. Then what happened? Well, I was going to have one, and then I had two, and then I ended up having like 5 Oreos. And then I felt so bad about myself, and it's the whole thing. And I'm very, very sympathetic. Oop, oop, we're back, Instagram. Very sympathetic to that. But then I'll say, with absolute love, how did those Oreos get into your house? Did somebody break in and leave them there? I won't ask that question because that's facetious, and I don't like being facetious. But how did they get in the house? Well, we brought them home. Who did? Oh, my husband and I, we were shopping. So you put them in the shopping cart and brought them into your house. Yeah, but we wanted a little treat. Okay, great. Love little treats. What I'm hearing you say, though, is that you overdid it and now you feel shameful. So can you see how on one hand you wanted a treat, and on the other hand, what you ended up with was just the shame spiral and the feeling of disappointment? Is there some way we can brainstorm to make this better for you? One of the ways I always brainstorm with clients is, what if you made a treat actually a treat? Like, hey, it's time for a treat. There's a community just south of here. Actually, we have somebody from Turner Valley. Black Diamond has a little ice cream shop that we love going to. And it's like, let's go for ice cream. Let's make it a real treat. Let's make it an actual treat instead of just having treats in the house. Because the very definition of the word treat is, it's a thing that happens occasionally. It's not a thing that goes in the shopping cart at the grocery store. Like, I would really ask you to reframe that. Like, treats don't come home from the grocery store. They certainly don't come home from Costco. Oh my goodness. Like, we need a Costco-sized bag of what? Chocolate covered almonds. Like, why do we need that? Why does that even exist? Who needs that? In what possible scenario is a 1 kilogram bag of I can't even. But I'm saying, let's reframe the treat as a treat. Make it an event. And just do yourself a favor and don't bring it in the house. Now, I want to address, I know what's going to come up. I know what the next question will be. Before I do that, though, I want to plug in my phone because I'm getting a battery message. So if I plug my phone in, hang on, Instagram, I'm coming for you. Professional here. You're good now. Okay. Here's the one piece of sort of pushback I get on this. And if you don't know me, I will mention that I'm not a mom. I don't have children. And so I'm not, in some ways, I'm not qualified to have this opinion. But in other ways, I am qualified to have this opinion because I'm an expert in human metabolism, and children are just small humans. What I hear from the moms is, well, my kids like the treats. It's like, great. I know kids like treats. I was a kid. I love treats. We just talked about this. We just finished talking about how getting treats from our mom and dad was like, it programmed us, right? So I get it. Kids like treats. All humans like treats. We are wired to love treats. That's just biology, and they're small humans, right? Make it a treat. Just go back to making it a really special occasion. Okay? I just read your mind. Of course I did. Yeah. I know. I hear that one a lot, and I want to be really, like, the parents watching this were like, I just want to give my kids a great life. I know you do. I know you do. And I think that having amazing little treats is part of that experience of growing up and having fun. But like, head out to the ice cream store, head out to the milkshake shop. kids are small humans. Make it a real treat. This is my encouragement to you. And so I shared this in the email that I wrote this morning. I gave 3 examples off the top of my head. How I manage potato chips, for example. So I posted a little poll in the Facebook group for the 5-day mindful eating solution. I was like, what are the treats that derail you the most? And the number 1 was potato chips. And it's so interesting because you guys have probably heard this, but like the Lay's potato chip slogan, bet you can't eat just one, isn't just a catchy marketing slogan. It's a friggin' guarantee you can't eat just one because it's been processed to the point of being hyper palatable, and your brain will just want more and more and more and more and more. And you know that, right? Like I didn't just tell you that, you knew that. You knew that those things are freaking addictive. Like dopamine receptors are like, pow, let's get more of those because it's starchy and it's salty and it's crunchy and it's all this fatty. It's got all these components that are designed to light up our excitement centers, our pleasure centers in the brain, so that we seek out more of these highly caloric, hyperpalatable foods so we can store more, because we're wired for food scarcity. We're not wired for food surplus, but we live in food surplus. Anyhow, potato chips was the biggest thing that people struggle with. And I love chips. Oh my gosh. Of course, who cares? How do you not love chips? Put your hand up if you don't love potato chips. I want to know who out there doesn't love them. I'd be curious. So movie night, potato chips, like, yes, somebody just said earlier, I want to sit down with my Netflix and my snacks. It's like, yeah, ditto. So I go to the store, make a special trip, buy an individual size bag of chips and eat that. I don't go to freaking Costco and buy a bag of chips half the size of my body. Why? It's a better deal, better value, but at what cost? Like, at what cost? I know that this isn't rocket science, and I feel like it's kind of weird, like I'm kind of throwing away just like really simple advice here, but go and make a trip, buy the special bag of chips you like in a smaller serving size, avail yourself of them, and then they'll be out of the house and you don't have to worry about them again. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to tell you not to eat potato chips ever again. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about if you have a food behavior that you would like to improve upon, please acknowledge that just by having these trouble foods in your home, you're making it harder on yourself, and I don't want that for you. Okay. The second example I gave in my email was I dispose of food, junk food, specifically junk food, treat food. I dispose of it when I'm done with it. So one of my oh my gosh, anybody who's ever worked with me is going to just like laugh, because one of my greatest weaknesses is popcorn. And I buy organic popping corn and I cook it in coconut oil and I season it with grass-fed butter and Himalayan sea salt. Oh, Redmond's real salt. I do it's the healthiest popcorn you're going to get. But for me, it's bad news. Like, it makes me feel ill, like just terrible, bloated, sick to my stomach right away. It's so crunchy and delicious in my mouth, but it's so bad in my body. And I can tell as soon as I start eating it, I'm like, this was a bad idea. And I keep eating it anyway. I eat it till it's gone. And then for days later, I'm struggling with not only the physical symptoms, but also just feeling bad about myself, because I knew that was going to make me feel terrible. I knew it was a bad choice for me, and I ate it anyway. Like, that's irritating. That's frustrating energy to walk around with. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, I don't want you to walk around being mad at yourself because you made a decision. You make a decision, you move on. But here's the deal. I still have a whole bag of popping corn kernels left. I made my one pot. Now I have this bag of popping corn kernels. I put them in the compost. I bury them in the compost. So our compost has a lid so the birds can't get it. I put them in the garbage. It's like, we're done. I'm done with this. I had a bowl of popcorn. That's all I wanted. I don't want any more bowls of popcorn. And I will literally go 6 or 8 months between bowls of popcorn at this point. I'm learning this lesson the hard way. We learn lessons the hard way. And I didn't throw the popcorn away because popcorn's bad for you. It's fattening or nothing like that. I threw it away because it makes me feel bad. And I don't deserve that, and neither do you. The third example I gave is that the person I live with has a major sweet tooth, like out of control sweet tooth. Don't tell him I said that if you know him. And every time I go into the city, because I live out of town, I'm like, hey, do you want me to pick anything up at the store? And his answer is always the same: cake. Cake. Did you know you can go buy a single piece of cake at the store? You go to the grocery store, they sell individual pieces of cake. So I go home and bring an individual piece of cake. He says, do you want some? I'm like, no, I don't want cake. It's your cake. Eat the whole thing. Eat the whole damn thing. Because you can eat the whole thing anyway. If you go and buy a huge cake or a small cake, you're going to eat the whole thing. You're going to eat the whole thing because it's there and your brain knows it's there. So that's how I do it. I buy small portions. I make special trips. And I'm not afraid to dispose of things when I'm done with them because I don't even really consider it to be food. Now I'm getting into the health topic, but like, I'm not going to suffer any kind of deficiency in my diet if I throw away the leftover cake. If I'm worried about the starving children around the world, I will donate to them, right? I do, in fact, for this reason, because I do feel some guilt about food wastage. And I know that's probably something that struggles a lot of people struggle with. Also, I think just on that note, as I'm riffing here, totally unscripted, I want to be really sensitive to socioeconomic factors as well. Some folks cannot afford to throw away food. Some folks cannot afford to buy high quality food. I get that. And it's not even available to them. I totally get that. I think that's a real freaking problem. In the context of this discussion, I'm talking about your mindless eating habits that you would like to get better at. And I got 5 days of education coming. This is day 1. And on day 1, it's like, get the shit out of your house. Get it out of your house. Just make it real easy on yourself. Because if it's in your house, it's going to be hard. If it's in your house, you're going to eat it. So some of this responsibility, this onus lands back on you. Because I've had people say to me, well, I'm not getting rid of the Oreos. My kids need them, which I don't know if they do, but okay. Again, I'm not a parent, so I'm not qualified to have an opinion, but I don't think any human needs Oreos. I've had people say, I'm not willing to get rid of it because my family didn't agree to do this eating change. My spouse didn't, my partner, my roommate didn't, my kids didn't. I'm doing this. It's my choice. I don't want to foist my food choices on my family, which I completely get. So it will be harder. It will just be harder. It's just going to be a little harder. But I have 4 more days of things to teach you about this topic. And starting tomorrow, we're going to get into the biochemistry of hunger and cravings and appetite and snacking, which is my favorite thing to talk about. There's little biochemical hacks we can do to make these snack cravings, these little episodes of mindless eating and boredom eating, and make them quieter. Make your hunger and cravings quieter so you're just a little bit more of the boss of them. So you don't feel like you're under their control. And that's how we step into mindfulness. Mindfulness, by the way, I secretly hate that word. It's just a word that's been overused. What does it even mean? Here's my definition of mindful. It means noticing, just noticing. So rather than like, wow, I just spent the last hour buried in powdered donuts. Where did all this powdered sugar come from? Like, you didn't even notice you were eating it. I just want you to step into a mindful sort of noticing sort of approach. Notice that certain things are calling to you at certain times. Start to notice when we're going to work on noticing a lot. So that's why I called this the mindful eating solution, because it sort of encompasses this whole idea. We're going to solve for all of the mindless eating habits that we struggle with. Things like boredom eating, things like evening snacking, things like crazy cravings, like the sweet tooth is a big one. Who has a sweet tooth? Who out there has a sweet tooth? Actually, I'm going to refine that question. Who here has a sweet tooth that they feel is a problem for them? Because I've had clients who love to have sweets, but it's not a problem for them. Like, no, I can really manage it. We got a hand up. Shelly says, hand up. Who else? I'm going to scroll through the comments here. Just a huge sweet tooth, Lindsay says. Yeah, so I think that there's a biochemical solution to this. Maddie says, very much a sweet tooth. Jill. We got some stuff coming up on the old Facebook machine. Jody says it's a problem. Jill's hand is up. Trisha says, me, I have a sweet tooth. It's awful. Jamie doesn't. I don't have a sweet tooth either, but I have a popcorn tooth. I got a popcorn tooth. Kelly says yes. Lots of people. Dawn's hand is up. Yes. Tons of folks with a sweet tooth. I can't wait to talk about that one. We're going to talk about that one a little bit later in the week. And I'm going to give you an experiment to try, and I encourage you to try it on and see what you think. But that's what we're going to try to get to the root of. And we're doing it in 5 days. In 5 days, I'm going to teach you everything I know about helping to quieten hunger cravings and appetite, crazy cravings and appetite and stuff. And then the onus is on you to put it into practice. So that being said, what are you going to take away from this? I suggested to you that if these foods that derail you, whether or not they're healthy or virtuous, who cares? They're the ones that derail you. It could be keto ice cream. It could be the stupid little protein balls made with dates. I think those things are so, I can't with those. I don't care what it is. If there's a thing in your house that you know you overdo it on, makes you feel bad about yourself, puts you right into the shame spiral, the feeling of disappointment, the starting again on Monday. I would be so good if only it wasn't for this food. Why is it in your house? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What is that food that you're going to get out of your house right now? Tell me what you're going to do with it. Tell me where it's going. Tell me what life will be like without it. You might feel sad at first. This is my encouragement to you. As soon as you get off this session with me, go into the pantry, get rid of it. Get rid of whatever it is. I don't care what it is. Get rid of it. Just do yourself a favor, or don't, and it'll just be a little bit harder. That's okay. This is the easiest, most impactful way to bring yourself into a more mindful relationship with your hunger, your appetite, and your cravings. Jill. Everybody listen up. Jill says, I took a garbage bag to my pantry on Saturday and nobody died. That's good to know. Nobody's going to die. People, I promise you, no one in your family will die of an Oreo insufficiency. It is yet to be reported in the literature. You'll be okay. Tara's got a comment about her cycle. So yes, for women, we do have periods in our cycle, times in our cycle where the cravings for sugar, starch, and carbohydrate are stronger, and there's a biological reason for that too, which I think is really cool. I don't know if I'll get into that in this 5 days. Maybe I will. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's a biochemical thing that I think is pretty cool, and I can't wait to dive into that stuff with you. So the remaining 5 days, we're going to talk about biochemistry twice. We're talking about hunger. We'll also talk about the biochemistry of rhythm. So biochemical rhythm sounds kind of weird when I say it that way, but you'll see. We're talking about behavior. So we're going to talk a little later in the week about behaviors versus habits, how those lines are blurred, you know, really putting our habits on the under the microscope. And then the final day, we'll talk about practice. And this isn't just practicing these new eating habits I'm teaching, but it's also practicing self-kindness, practicing self-acceptance, compassion, to a certain extent, forgiveness. And it's not a big dealness, which is a really important part of what I like teaching people. Tara says, I guess my frozen Easter candy needs out. Okay, great point. Who's got Easter candy chilling in their house somewhere? That's a good point. Thank you for reminding me of that, Tara. We just had a bunch of, we just had a very chocolate-oriented holiday come up. Get it out. You probably had enough. At this point, you probably had enough. You're probably not really craving more Cadbury eggs. I mean, you're probably like, okay, that's enough, right? I mean, really. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. Do yourself a favor. You're biologically programmed to eat the shit out of this stuff. So it's not even your fault. Why make it hard on yourself? You know, my company is called Eat Simple. If you're on Instagram, it's right there. Simple. Boop. You guys, Eat Simple, you know. Because I personally am tired of having a stupid, fussy relationship with food. It's food. It's simple. Our brains need fuel to stay alive. Food is also sexy and enjoyable and like social and gorgeous. And it's just really that simple. It should not be this tumultuous fight with food. I don't want that for you. I don't think you want it for yourself either. So just get it out. You're the boss. You're the grown-up. You're the grown-up. You're in charge of the groceries at your house. The kids didn't buy the groceries. They probably didn't even pay for any of them. So make a grown-up choice and just make your life a little easier by getting the shit out of your house. Okay, you might have to have a conversation with your partner. They may not be on board. That's okay. I don't want your relationships in your home to become filled with strife. Um, one of the strategies that I recommend for that scenario is the very honest, open arrangement where you go to your partner and say, partner, um, I'm working on my health a little bit. And one of the things I really want to work on is this kind of crazy out of control snacking that I do sometimes. It makes me feel really bad about myself. And I think what would make me feel better about myself is if I could just kind of get this a bit under control. So what I would love is if we could agree that we'll have treat days on Tuesdays and Fridays. It's treat days, pizza night, taco night, popcorn night, ice cream night. What do you say? And your partner's going to either say yes or no, but at least you approached it with them being a collaborative part of it. You kind of co-created the strategy instead of foisting it on them, because nobody likes that. Nobody likes having food decisions put onto them. But you can ask, and you can frame it in a way of, I'd like to do this so I can feel better. Would you meet me in the middle by XYZ strategy? Okay. That's my encouragement to you. Enable your environment, and this all becomes a whole bunch easier. Okay. If you have questions for me, I've got 9 more minutes. I'm going to stop promptly at the 45-minute mark. So as I was touching on earlier, I'm trying to do better at like reining myself in because I can get a little ranty. Let's see what Instagram has to say. Opinion on baking or sweetening things with stevia instead of sugar. Works great for my sweet tooth. Stevia, no calories, and natural. Daytona, Maine. Okay, this is a great question. If you have a sweet tooth and you satisfy it with some sweet tasting thing that doesn't actually have sugar in it. So stevia, there's no calories, no actual sugar in there. So the brain is like, let's get something sweet. And you're like, okay, I'll get you something sweet, but there's not going to be any sugar in it. And in some ways, that's sort of satisfying the sweet tooth. And the other way, it's kind of also reinforcing the sweet tooth. So this is kind of a double-sided answer, but what sounds to me, Daytona, Maine, like this is working for you. Great. That doesn't work for some people. For some people, that doesn't work. It's like, man, I had all these stevia sweetened treats, and it just closed that loop in my brain, that little conditioned response, that Pavlovian sort of thing in the brain, where the brain was like, go eat something sweet, go eat something sweet. And then you did, regardless of whether there's sugar or calories in it. I'm back. Regardless of whether there's sugar or calories in it, your brain got that sweet hit it was looking for. And that's potentially going to strengthen that sweet tooth. So, but it sounds like it's working. So there's really a lot of individuality in the answer to that one. Hope that makes sense. Sounds like it's working for you. I know it doesn't work for everybody. For some people, they have to actually short circuit that sweets craving. And that's where you go back to sort of the savory snack hack that I taught earlier. Potato chips is Sybil's weakness. I bought a huge thing of cheddar at Costco for the family, intending for it to last a month. It was gone in a week. I don't deal with Costco. Chris had a date ball in his mouth when I mentioned them. I don't like those things. It's like, here's a healthy sweet treat. It's like, what? I don't understand what the benefit of eating a bunch of dates is. Like, why not just have why not have a square of chocolate and call it done? I don't really get it. I don't know. That's just me. It speaks to self-control, which is definitely a concern area for some. The small single serving idea is a game changer. I totally agree. I mean, we probably forgot they made them that way. They make single serving bags of chips. It is a game changer. You get to still have the experience, because I like people to have the food experiences they want to have, as long as it's like a well-managed experience. And then you don't have to, what I'm trying to solve for here is the shame spiral. I'm just trying to solve for your shame spirals, gang. I don't want you to go into that feeling of disappointment and shame. You don't deserve that. Buy individual portions and toss the rest out. I have an everything tooth. Oh, a hungry tooth. Your teeth are just hungry. I have a sweet tooth, and it triggers at night when watching TV and sipping my tea. Triggers. Love it. We're going to talk about triggers later. That's great that you can acknowledge your triggers. That was Arabia. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I'm sorry. Acknowledging the triggers, like as soon as I sit down in front of the TV with my cup of tea, I want something sweet. So that's really important. That understanding the triggers for behaviors is really cool. And so that's great that you can. We're going to talk about that later in the week, how we can, what the hinge, I call it the hinging point. Like there's a point when I make a decision, I sit down with my tea and I make the decision to go get the sweet thing. What if I just made a different decision? Like what could I do to make a different decision? We have to kind of drop in to that moment. That's the hinging point. So we'll talk about that later. Wine. Had to stop my wine subscription. Yeah, so for some people, wine is interesting. I get that one a lot too from people because people know I love me some wine. But for some people, wine exacerbates a snacking habit. For some people, it replaces it or is a snacking habit in and of itself. That's a freaking Pandora's box. I actually have a whole day in my metabolic reboot, which is a 30-day program devoted to basically wine and alcoholic beverages, like because there's so much nuance. It's almost like impossible to unpack it all here. But I think it was Julie that said that. Like, I love it. Everyone's just acknowledging. Everybody here watching this knows what their thing is. That's all. Just know what the thing is, and then like consider getting it out of your environment on the regular. Out of your environment on the regular. Go bring it home when you want it. You want some wine? Go buy a bottle of wine and drink wine that night, right? Don't have wine all over the place all the time if you struggle to sort of manage your intake of it. All right, it makes me hunt for snacks. Okay, so Julie says wine makes her hunt for snacks. So some people, when they start drinking the wine, they get snacky. That's good to know. See, we're just inventorying our personal habits at this point, which is a great way to do it. But what the common denominator is, if it's in your midst, you will eat it or drink it. Lindsay says, to really help control my environment, I'm considering giving my husband my credit cards to avoid gas stations. Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. When I was kind of conceiving how to talk about this topic, I was like, well, what do I say about the people who will physically leave their home to go and get the thing and bring it back in the moment? Like, that's an interesting one. So I think, Lindsay, what I think is going to be really beneficial for you is starting to kind of, we talked about a second ago, is focusing on those triggers. Like, what is the thing that triggers the want to go to the gas station? So we'll talk about that later in the week. What about being more active and burning more calories, especially on days that you know you're going to indulge? I don't subscribe to that model personally. That's a Pandora's box too. That's so like in sort of the flexible dieting macro counting realm, they would say, well, just time your treats, your cheat days around your workouts. And it's like, again, I mean, what I'm talking about here is relationship with food stuff, which is really different from like that approach. And the relationship with food that I'm hoping to solve for people is this one of like shame and disappointment. And like, I'm a bad person because I ate this thing. So I don't think burning off the calories helps you fix that relationship. That actually, in some ways, makes it more troubling for some people. That's just my opinion. I buy more junk food when I'm hungry at the grocery store. It's really just a small anecdote before I switch this off. I went to the grocery store hungry and I bought I went to Costco and I bought the $200 strip loin, the full strip loin, the loin. When I go to the grocery store hungry, I buy Costco size beef. I think that's just a biochemical change I've made over the years, but it's a great point. You cannot exercise bad eating. It's true. And again, I'm not really talking about bad eating, but I really do want to just finish by saying that my goal in this 5-day series is in the relationship with food piece. I'm not here to deliver hacks on how to, oh, you binged on Oreos? Here's what you do next. It's like, no, why don't you just not binge on Oreos so you can feel better about yourself just generally and have a more effortless relationship with food. That's kind of the space I play in. So that's cool. Like, these are good questions though. Okay, that's 45 minutes on the button. I'm going to pack it in. Oh, as it turns out, my internet conked out anyway. So I'm going to pack it in. If you have more questions about this, You guys who are in my 5-day mindful eating solution, pop them in the Facebook group. If you're on Instagram, you can DM me. Let's keep this conversation going. Tomorrow's day 2. We're talking about hunger biochemically. So that'll be fun. Okay. Okay. Signing off. Bye, Instagram. And Zoom and Facebook. This is where I leave you as well. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. That was fun. I'll see you tomorrow.